Do you ever feel like time is slipping away? Like there's this invisible clock ticking, pressuring you to achieve more, to do more, to be more. And no matter how hard you try, it's never enough. I've been there. I've been caught in a rat race against my own expectations and the world's demands. But let me ask you something. What if the very thing that you're praying for God to take away, the struggle, the pain, the thorn in your side, what if it's the very thing that He is using to prepare you for greatness? You see, I've learned something over the years, and it's this: God doesn't waste a single battle. So today we're diving into what it really means to trust Him when the answer to your prayer is no. And by the end of this video, I believe that you'll see your struggle in a whole new light. This isn't just a feel-good message. This is about real life. It's about your life and my life and what happens when we hit a wall. At this time of year, I always find myself reflecting. Have I been good enough? Have I been present enough? Or have I just survived? Sometimes the pressure to measure up against others or even against myself, it feels like it's too much. I get lost in the balance between what the world expects of me and what I truly desire in my heart. But here is what grounds me every single time: the promise of Jesus. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, it says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." These words remind me that it's not about my own strength or my ability to accomplish it all. It's about His grace showing up when I feel like I have nothing left to give. So last Saturday, my family and I were headed to Orange County to celebrate our pastor's birthday. It was supposed to be this beautiful evening, a time to honor someone who's impacted us so much. But as soon as I stood up from the car, this crippling pain shot through my hip and my leg, and I couldn't move. Every inch of motion sent shooting pain through my body, and all I could do was cry. I felt helpless. I was frustrated, defeated even. We had driven all of that way, only to turn around and head back to LA. And as my husband helped me home, I spent the evening resting instead of celebrating. It felt like something invisible was standing in my way. The next morning, I woke up completely fine. I even skateboarded to church like nothing had happened. But the experience left me humbled. It reminded me of my own limitations and made me deeply aware that sometimes God allows us to experience our limitations to show us that we're not meant to rely on our own strength, but He wants us to lean on Him. In 2 Corinthians 12, Paul talks about a thorn in his side, and we don't know exactly what it was, a physical ailment, a struggle, or something else, but he describes it as a messenger of Satan, allowed by God to humble him. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 8-9 in the Message version says, "At first I didn't think of it as a gift, and I begged God to remove it. 3 times I did that, and He told me, 'My grace is enough. It's all you need. My strength comes into its own in your weakness.'" And that's not the answer that any of us want, right? We want the pain gone, the struggle resolved. But what if the thorn is the very thing keeping you connected to God? What if it's there to prepare you for the next level of your calling? This thorn, whatever it was, reminded Paul that he couldn't rely on his own strength. It kept him dependent on God. And here's the thing: Paul stopped asking for it to be removed. Instead, he started boasting about his weaknesses because they allowed God's power to shine even brighter. Think about it. What's the thorn in your life? Is it anxiety? Is it a fear of failure? A relationship that feels impossible? Maybe it's a dream that hasn't come true yet. We all have something that humbles us, that reminds us of our limitations. But here's the hard part to accept. Everything that the enemy throws at you is something that God allows. Not because he wants to hurt you, but because he's preparing you for more. Everything the enemy uses to attack you, God allows to shape you. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But it's true. God isn't letting this happen to you to punish you. He's using it to refine you, to draw you closer to him, to prepare you for the purpose that he's placed in your life. In 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13, it says, "No test or temptation that comes your way is beyond the course of what others have to face. All you need to remember is that God will never let you down. He'll never let you be pushed past your limit. He'll always be there to help you come through it." Can you trust a God who allows the test? A God who doesn't always remove the thorn, but promises to walk with you through it. Sometimes our prayers need to change. Instead of asking God to take the struggle away, what if we asked him to show us his strength through it? His power is perfected in weakness. The more we suffer, the more we have the opportunity to glorify God. But what if God never takes your weaknesses away? Can you still walk with hope and with joy? Because God isn't looking for perfection. He's asking for surrender. He wants to use you, your insecurities, your self-doubt, your imperfections, to show his strength. When you lean into his grace, he becomes your strength. And that's where transformation happens. Here's what I know. God's grace isn't just enough to get you through. It's the power that will propel you forward. Because when we give him our weaknesses, he gives us his strength. That is the exchange that he offers. The same God who gave Paul revelations of heaven is the same God who allowed Paul to carry a thorn. The same God who's called you to something great is the same God who's walking with you right now in your struggle, in your pain. He hasn't forgotten you. He's preparing you. So when you feel stuck, when life feels overwhelming, remember this. His grace is enough. And if he hasn't removed the thorn, it's because he's using it to prepare you for something greater. So just trust the process. Trust the God who walks with you through everything. So I ask you today, what is your thorn? What is the thing that you're wrestling with? Share it in the comments. I'd love to pray with you. And if this message encouraged you, send it to someone who needs the reminder that God's grace is enough. And before you go, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. We've got plenty more messages coming your way, and I don't want you to miss what God has for you next. And until next time, let's love more, let's trust deeper, and walk in the strength that only God can provide. And I'll see you at the next PSA. If God never takes your thorn away, is his love, his compassion, and his kindness still enough? If you enjoyed this message, share it with the first person that come to mind. We have an entire playlist of videos for you and those around you. Definitely check them out, and we'll see you in the next one.